Hello viewers, welcome to my channel Fable Frame 103. Everyone enjoy the story nicely. Let's get started. We've been together for 5 years now. It all started when we connected on Facebook, and sparks flew immediately. We went on a few dates and had a great time. Then, out of the blue, she shocked me with unexpected news within the first week of our relationship. She mustered up the courage to admit that she had cheated on me with her ex-boyfriend, who she affectionately calls her duck buddy. To make amends, she baked me a delicious pie and sincerely apologized, admitting that it was a terrible mistake. Despite the shock, and the fact that our relationship was still in its early stages, I decided to give her another chance. We were overjoyed at that time, and simply moved forward without discussing it again until recently. Our journey began when she was around 19 or 20 years old, still living with her parents, while I, at about 24 years old, had my own place and was living independently. If I recall correctly, she moved in with me around 6 months to a year into our relationship. We made a decision to rent a place closer to our families and friends, so we could spend more time with them. We couldn't be happier, exploring all the amazing attractions, hiking, and going on vacations all around our state. She tends to be more reserved and shy, but she's also incredibly determined and loves sharing our adventures on social media. Around 2 to 2.5 years down the road, she drops a bombshell on me. She's pregnant. I didn't see it coming because I assumed she was on birth control, but despite the surprise, I have complete confidence in our relationship, and I'm thrilled to embark on this new chapter of my life. We welcome our bundle of joy into the world. He arrives precisely on the day that doctors had predicted, and the labor is a breeze, lasting less than an hour. It couldn't have gone any smoother. We're blessed with a perfectly healthy baby boy, and boy, does she flood social media with countless pictures, capturing every precious moment of our life together. Up until now, I can confidently say that we've never had a major fight. At most, we would agree to disagree, and we used to look down on other couples who were constantly bickering. We felt incredibly grateful to have each other and, or so I believed, to truly understand one another and our respective needs. Now let's fast forward a bit. Our son is already a lively 2-year-old. Just a week or two after celebrating his birthday, she hits me with another mind-blowing surprise, a positive pregnancy test. She's brimming with excitement, while I'm in a state of shock mixed with a whole lot of excitement as well. She's just barely a week into the pregnancy, but she's already sharing the news with all our family and friends. We had talked about wanting our son to have a sibling, so we were thrilled. However, things took a sudden turn. There were complications and we rushed her to the hospital. It turned out she needed to undergo an immediate surgery to have one of her fallopian tubes removed. This all happened during the COVID pandemic, so I had to wait in the car for over 12 hours while they prepared for and performed the surgery on her, as I wasn't allowed inside. The surgery is finally done and she appears to be doing okay. It was undoubtedly a heartbreaking experience, but since the pregnancy was so brief, I naively believed that there wouldn't be many lingering effects. At that time, I was unaware of the potential impact that such a surgery could have on a woman. Despite her reserved and stubborn nature, she kept everything to herself, and I had no clue that something might be wrong. So we carried on with our daily routines, going to work, paying the mortgage, and so on. By the way, it's worth mentioning that I actually quit my job during this period to pursue further education and a different job in my desired field. Financially, we were never really struggling. After about a month or two, she starts spending time with a close friend, who's always caught up in a roller coaster relationship and is practically a single mom. Interestingly, this friend has recently discovered a new path and no longer identifies as straight. They frequently hit up the bar together. Honestly, I'm completely fine with it because I understand that she needs some quality girl time, especially with the responsibilities of being a mom and juggling work. I absolutely adore spending time with my son. However, I start to notice a concerning pattern. She often drives home late at night after having a few drinks at the bar. It becomes a weekly occurrence. As a result, our bed life together takes a nosedive. It was never super active to begin with, as she never seemed to have a particularly high desire, but I was understanding and tried to work with her on it. But it reaches a point where it's almost non-existent and I bring it up to her. Unexpectedly, she expresses her desire to take a break and temporarily move back in with her parents. I agree, thinking that some space might help rejuvenate our relationship. I even suggest giving her some money and flying her out to the state where her best friend recently moved, so they can have a girls' week together. However, she declines my offer. About a week into our break, with Valentine's Day just around the corner, I muster up the courage to ask her if she has any plans of coming back home. But instead of a response, I'm met with complete silence. Eventually, she reaches out and says she needs more time and continues her bar hopping routine. The day before Valentine's Day, she sends me a text saying that the spark between us has vanished, but she still wants to give me my gift. When Valentine's Day finally arrives, she doesn't want to see me, but reluctantly agrees to have a family dinner the following day. We gather around for dinner, and she puts on a facade as if nothing is wrong, but there's an undeniable distance between us. I try my best to put on a happy face, while also giving her the space she seems to need. We exchange gifts, and I surprise her with a smartwatch along with a bouquet of flowers worth $1.70 and her favorite candies. She hands me a $1.15 jar with a magnifying glass, apparently meant for examining MJ. I don't even smoke. Shortly after, she leaves. The following day, I gather the courage to ask if we can become a complete family once again. Her response hits me like a ton of bricks. She reveals that she used that family dinner as a test to see if I could reignite the spark, and according to her, I failed. I had no idea I was being put to the test like that, and needless to say, I was incredibly frustrated. This period became one of the toughest times in my life, as I already carry deep-seated abandonment issues stemming from my own parents. Things take a turn for the worse. I uncover the painful truth that she has been unfaithful to me, and guess who she's been cheating with? None other than the 34-year-old bar manager, a guy with his own set of baggage, a couple of kids, and even HPV. It's interesting because I happen to be good friends with his co-workers from the same bar, and let me tell you, they don't have a single positive thing to say about him. In fact, they describe him as offensive and disrespectful towards vulnerable women. This period becomes an amplified nightmare. The only thing that keeps me going is the thought of leaving my son behind. Unable to bear being in the house where we raised him, I seek refuge at my parents' place. Night after night, I'm plagued by nightmares, leaving me unable to sleep more than a mere 4 to 5 hours a night for an entire month. Meanwhile, her parents are furious with her and even threaten to kick her out. But to be honest, I'm terrified at the thought of who my son would be around on the day she has custody. Despite everything that has happened, she continues to rely on alcohol and spends as much time as possible with this other guy. She claims he's a crutch for her, helping her get through whatever she's going through. I've done everything within my power and within the bounds of the law to put a stop to this. It's kind of embarrassing to admit, but I even confronted the guy directly and attempted to bribe him to stay away from her. I felt like I had to exhaust every option available. All I want is to have my family back together again, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Now it's reached a breaking point where her parents have issued an ultimatum. They've told her she must let go of this guy and find a way to navigate through her struggles without relying on him as a crutch, or else she'll be kicked out and they'll take custody of the child on her designated days. She's torn apart my family and is even driving a wedge between herself and her own family. We're all left scratching our heads, wondering what on earth is going through her mind that she wouldn't even make an effort to repair our family for the sake of our son. She keeps insisting that she needs to find herself. It leaves me in a state of confusion. What should I do? Do I wait and try to mend our relationship? Or is it a lost cause beyond repair? All I want is to be with her and our son, creating a happy home together. Second story. I'm taking complete ownership of the situation without making any excuses. Our relationship started 5 years ago when we were still in our youth. Me, a 23-year-old woman, and him, a 26-year-old man. I understand that many people might suggest breaking up and moving on since we're young, but we love each other deeply and breaking up is not even on the table. I'm ready to do whatever it takes to hold on to him. Let me give you a bit of background. My brother and I grew up in a highly dysfunctional household with an alcoholic father. As a result, we developed a strong desire to please others and constantly seek validation from new people. In my case, my self-esteem hit rock bottom. I would engage with anyone who showed me even the slightest bit of attention, not because I was genuinely attracted to them. I preferred male friends because the attention they gave me felt more satisfying than what I received from female friends. Deep down, I knew their true intentions, but it didn't matter to me as long as I got the attention I craved. Before meeting my current partner, I had one boyfriend who cheated on me, and in response, I cheated on him as an act of retaliation. So I was always cautious and mistrustful in relationships. Everything turned around when I met my fiancé. He brought a sense of completeness into my life. The way he treated me like royalty and took care of me was absolutely perfect. We did hit a bit of a rough patch in the beginning because I was still in denial about some of my male friends making advances on me, even though it was pretty obvious. But we quickly addressed that issue and went on to have the most incredible 2 years together. I was fiercely loyal to him. Any guy who tried to flirt with me or even send me a message would get blocked immediately, and I would make sure to send him a screenshot as proof. Then he landed a job at a modeling agency, which brought him into contact with a lot of famous and stunning women. He started traveling frequently for work, and all of a sudden, he changed his cell phone password. He started getting close to a girl who openly expressed her love for him, but he turned her down, and I saw the messages myself. A few days later, my brother caught him talking to her on the street, and it devastated me. He tried to convince me that nothing was going on, but I was tired of constantly feeling this way. I'd always been open with my phone, willingly sharing my password with him because I had nothing to hide. However, when I tried to check his phone once, he snatched it away from my hand so abruptly, which raised even more suspicion and caused me to lose sleep over it. My family, female friends, and acquaintances all thought I was being naive, saying things like, "He hangs out with models, so of course he cheats." The whole situation was driving me crazy. When I started working at the hospital, I shared with my colleagues that my boyfriend had a job at a well-known modeling agency. Instead of taking it seriously, they all laughed at me. I became the subject of constant teasing, with remarks like, "Where's your boyfriend? Probably surrounded by models being faithful, ha ha ha." It hurt me deeply, and I ended up crying every day. Even my boss joined in on the jokes, telling me to stop being foolish and suggesting that my boyfriend was cheating on me. He criticized my appearance, saying I look like a nun and that I should wear makeup, be more outgoing, and live my life as a young woman. I never had any attraction or interest in my boss, but I followed his advice nonetheless. Strangely, once I made changes and started wearing makeup, he began complimenting me, and we started exchanging glances frequently. It felt like I was reverting to my old self. I craved attention, compliments, and the excitement of being a teenager and meeting new people. Then one day, he kissed me and I kissed him back. We started texting each other constantly. Even though deep down, I knew my boyfriend had cheated on me with some of the girls he worked with. I felt guilty, but I used my boss as a way to seek revenge. Our connection wasn't healthy though. He never prioritized my pleasure, and most of the time he was a jerk, but whenever my boyfriend acted suspicious again, like hiding his phone or dismissing my concerns about his faithfulness, I would turn to my boss. We got physically close about 4 times, but I often made excuses and turned him down. We kissed on 3 occasions. This went on for about 2 months. Later, a higher-up boss at work fired me along with a bunch of other people for reasons unrelated to my situation. My boss would invite me to his place frequently, but I always declined. As time passed, we stopped talking as much, and our interactions became limited to the occasional text, which was not flirtatious or anything of the sort. That became my routine. Whenever I felt like my boyfriend was betraying me, I would resort to my old habits and seek attention from other men. In the same year that I was involved with my boss, several months later, a friend of my mother started showing interest in me. He had gotten my number while he was helping out my sick mother. We exchanged photos and stayed in touch for a while. The only reason things didn't get physical between us was because when we met in person for the first and only time, his kiss was absolutely terrible, and I couldn't continue. I turned him down many times when he suggested Netflix and chill, but we kept in touch sporadically until it fizzled out. Whenever my boyfriend started acting up again, I would unblock some past fling or someone I knew would hit on me. The following year, I cheated on him online with 3 different people for a brief period of time. However, since they eventually stopped giving me the attention I craved and all they were interested in was texting, it didn't last long. Last year, I landed a different job and once again betrayed him by being physically unfaithful. He was literally staying in this model house project for a whole 3 months, and emotionally it was the toughest time for me. With a guy I had kissed back when I was around 14 years old. We shared pictures, texted each other, and I went to meet him at his friend's place nearby. We got close, but he'd finished in just about 2 minutes. It was incredibly frustrating. He freshened up and came back, but I was still disappointed, so after about 10 minutes, I made up an excuse and left. He kept messaging me persistently, so I eventually decided to block him. Do you remember the guy I cheated on my ex-boyfriend with? Well, I unblocked him and we started talking again. By that time, I was fully indulging in my old habits of seeking male attention. He was dealing with illness and was hesitant to send me any candid photos, especially shirtless ones, since he was aspiring to be a bodybuilder. His medication had taken a toll on his libido, and when I expressed interest in being close with him, he turned me down. We crossed paths 5 times, 3 times on the bus. I would go out of my way to the same bus stop just to spend time with him. Once on the train, nothing happened, we just talked, and once near my house. He wanted to kiss me during our meeting near my house, but I declined because I was afraid someone might see us walking closely together. However, during our bus encounters, we did share a few kisses. His kissing skills weren't the best, but I enjoyed the attention and reminiscing about our past stories. We attempted BJ on the bus for about 3 seconds, but his low libido made it more about kissing and talking than anything else. When he was feeling better, he invited me to sleep with him, but I turned him down since he had done the same to me before. My boyfriend asked me to marry him, and even though I said yes, I couldn't shake off the guilt. Our relationship had become strained. He was fed up with my constant suspicions, and I was exhausted from feeling like he was betraying me. We argued frequently, which led us to postpone the wedding. It felt like we had lost hope in our relationship. I was getting almost zero attention from him, and it was absolutely terrible. We had been together for about 5 years, always passionate, and we were like rabbits in a bed, but now we felt like strangers to each other. I was still working at the same place, and there was a security guard I knew from my younger days. We began texting each other frequently, but there was something different about him. The attention he gave me reminded me of the kind my boyfriend used to give me. We had deep conversations about life and shared our problems. I found myself missing him and thinking about him every day, and eventually, I fell in love with him. His kisses were amazing, and we would meet in a secluded stairwell he knew about. We even went to a motel a few times, although our closeness was brief. He couldn't control his desire in a small private space. He was incredibly considerate, funny, and took care of me. He gave me the attention I had been craving. We met up around 20 times over the span of 3 months, and we had closeness in the stairwell 3 times, and in a nearby motel twice. The difficult part was that he was married with a baby daughter, and I despised the fact that I was contributing to breaking up a family. I felt an overwhelming sense of guilt because this time, it wasn't about seeking revenge. I genuinely couldn't stop thinking about him. I had a strong crush on him and craved the attention he gave me. I attempted to end things with him a few times, but whenever he texted me and threatened to cut off contact if I didn't meet him in the stairwell, I couldn't bear the thought of losing that attention. I rationalized it by thinking, if I tell my fiancé about this, he'll never forgive me, so I'll keep this other guy around just for the attention. So, we would still meet occasionally, but it was no longer about anything close. Unexpectedly, my relationship with my fiancé improved, and he became the loving man I had been infatuated with since the beginning of our relationship. I finally felt happy again, but at the same time, I was deeply depressed and afraid. Now that our relationship was in a better place, my perspective toward the other man completely changed. I no longer desired anything with him, I wasn't attracted to him anymore. I mustered up the courage to confess some of my actions to my fiancé, and it was incredibly difficult. I cried a lot, felt deeply ashamed, and tried to downplay the extent of it, but he was digging through my phone like a detective and uncovered some things. He broke up with me, and I was in a state of desperation, selfishly craving attention and stability. That's when I started lying to the other guy, but he was getting tired of me because I wasn't giving him any attention. Once my relationship with my fiancé started improving again, I found myself alone, devoid of any attention, as my fiancé blocked me on every platform. In a moment of desperation, I decided to fabricate a story to the other guy, professing my love for him and wanting to be his girlfriend. However, he sent me a 2-minute voice message saying, "You say one thing and do another. I'm tired and I can't trust you." I didn't respond. Eventually, my fiancé agreed to meet with me and came across the last conversation I had with the other guy. It devastated him, as he believed that I truly loved the other guy, but the truth was I never stopped loving my fiancé even for a second. His wife eventually found out and reached out to my fiancé. They'd probably collaborated out of revenge, and together they uncovered all the details about me and her husband. She confirmed some of the things I had told him, like the fact that her husband was 24 and needed medication for his performance in bed. I didn't hold back and revealed information about every other guy, even the ones he would never have discovered on his own. I confessed everything and came completely clean. Surprisingly, when he found out about the notes I had written on my phone expressing my deep depression and fear that he was cheating on me back in 2018 to 2019, he agreed to give me another chance. I answered every single question he had and provided him with every detail he wanted. Since I had embarrassed him in front of the people I cheated on him with, as well as some co-workers who knew about my last affair, I thought it was only fair to make a public gesture of love to show my commitment and sincerity. I got his name tattooed on my wrist as a permanent symbol of my commitment. I have no privacy anymore. I gave him access to all my passwords. I'm willing to be patient and understanding through all the ups and downs of our relationship. I even changed my phone number and deleted all my social media accounts to show him I'm serious about rebuilding trust. He made it clear that he can't marry me legally because he can't stand the idea of publicly declaring his love for someone who betrayed him like I did. I understand that my actions have left a lasting impact on him, so it's only fair that I face lasting consequences as well. That's why I've accepted that I won't be able to fulfill my dream of having children. Although I never had concrete evidence of him actually cheating on me, I couldn't prove anything. Right now, I know he might seek closeness with other women as a form of retaliation. I'm prepared to live with that for a while until he feels like a man again, as he has expressed that he doesn't feel like one at the moment. I'm determined to make things right and ensure that this situation becomes easier for both of us. Our goal is to stay together forever because he means everything to me. He's not just my partner, but also my best friend. I want to assure him that I will never cheat again and that I only desire his attention. I acknowledge my past mistakes and I'm committed to changing myself for the better. I genuinely want to transform, and I've already taken the first step by starting therapy last month. We took some time apart, and during that period, I realized just how deeply I love him. To those who have experienced betrayal, I'm seeking advice on how to demonstrate to him even more convincingly that I'm willing to go through anything to keep him in my life. What actions can I take to rebuild his trust and show him that I'm fully committed to our relationship? I promise I won't ever betray him again. I want to clarify that I didn't cheat on him unless I had reasons to suspect his own infidelity. However, in light of everything that's happened, I've made some significant changes. I quit my job, my relationship with my brother has suffered, and I've lost a considerable amount of weight due to the stress. But I'm determined to transform myself into the best version of a woman I can possibly be. It's important to note that I was fiercely loyal to him throughout our 2-year relationship, and staying faithful was never a challenge for me. I neglected to mention that I experienced some urinary infections before, and when I discussed them with the doctor, they inquired about unprotected contacts. It led me to speculate that these infections might have been caused by him being close with other women. So yes, most of the time we used protection.